Imagine hearing a story so strange, so heartwarming, and so unbelievable that without video proof, no one would ever think it really happened. That's exactly what happened to a young family when their baby and their parrot ended up in a situation they never expected. What the parrot did was so surprising. It didn't just shock the parents, it left everyone who saw the footage stunned. And today, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. This story starts in a quiet suburban home where life was usually predictable, peaceful, and full of the simple joys that come with raising a baby. The Jensen family had recently welcomed their first child, an 8-month-old baby boy named Sammy. Sammy was at the stage where he was learning how to crawl, exploring everything he could get his tiny hands on, and discovering the world with endless curiosity. But Sammy wasn't the only one in the house with a big personality. The family also had a parrot named Kiwi, a bright green Amazon parrot who had been with them for almost 5 years. Kiwi was loud, funny, surprisingly intelligent, and full of attitude. He loved mimicking sounds, repeating random words, and stealing attention whenever he could. If someone was laughing, Kiwi wanted in. If someone was talking, Kiwi interrupted. And if someone ignored him, he made sure they regretted it. But even though Kiwi was a bit dramatic, he was also loving, gentle, and incredibly protective over the family. What no one realized, though, was just how protective he had become over baby Sammy. One ordinary morning, the Jensen parents were busy in the kitchen preparing breakfast. They had Sammy in the living room, safely on the carpeted floor with his toys. Kiwi was perched on his stand nearby, watching with his usual curious eyes. Everything seemed calm, but that peaceful morning was about to take a surprising turn. As Sammy crawled across the floor, he was doing something he had just learned the week before, pulling himself up on low furniture. This new skill made him feel brave, but he was still wobbly and unstable. The parents had no idea that Sammy was now trying to stand up on almost anything he could reach, whether it was safe or not. While the parents were still in the kitchen talking, Sammy began crawling toward a small wooden end table in the living room. It had a round base where the family usually placed a large glass water bottle. And on that particular day, the bottle was almost full. Completely harmless for adults, potentially risky for a crawling baby who didn't understand weight, angles, or gravity. Kiwi noticed before anyone else did. The parrot tilted his head sharply, watching the baby approach the table. Kiwi often mimicked sounds or played with toys whenever Sammy crawled near him. But this time was different. He stayed still, unusually focused, his eyes locked on the bottle perched right on the edge of the table. Sammy placed one small hand on the table's leg and tugged, trying to pull himself up. The force made the table wobble lightly, just enough to shift the bottle closer to the edge. The moment Kiwi saw that movement, he hopped once, twice, then glided down from his perch and landed just inches from Sammy. Unaware of any danger, Sammy giggled and reached toward the parrot, thinking Kiwi wanted to play. But the parrot wasn't there to play. He was watching the bottle, watching the table, and watching the baby, who was seconds away from pulling at the unstable surface again. When Sammy gripped the table a second time and tugged harder, the full water bottle tipped and began to slide. And at that exact moment, Kiwi did the unbelievable. Instead of moving away, Kiwi flapped his wings, lunged toward the bottle, and pushed against it with his chest and beak. The force was just enough to keep the bottle from falling over the edge. But the effort threw Kiwi off balance, and he slid a little, struggling to regain footing. Still determined, Kiwi pushed again, this time managing to shift the bottle back just enough so it wasn't hanging dangerously close to the edge. Sammy giggled at the parrot's sudden movement, not understanding what had just happened. But Kiwi wasn't done. He climbed onto the bottle, literally perched on top of it, using his body weight to stabilize it so the baby couldn't accidentally knock it over. Then the parrot did something that shocked even the people who later watched the footage. He turned toward the hallway where the parents were and began calling in the loudest, clearest voice, "Mama! Mama! Mama!" It wasn't the first time Kiwi had mimicked the word, but it was the first time he had used it with such urgency, rhythm, and emotion, almost like a real call for help. Hearing the call, Sammy's mother walked toward the living room, completely unaware of what she was about to witness. As soon as she entered, she froze. Her baby was leaning on the table exactly where the heavy bottle had nearly fallen. Kiwi was standing on top of the bottle, like a tiny, feathered guard, and the security camera had caught every second of it. The mother's eyes widened as she realized that without Kiwi's quick reaction, the bottle could have easily fallen right where Sammy's head was. Her heart skipped, her breath caught in her throat, and she rushed forward, scooping the baby into her arms and gently moving the bottle back to a safer spot. But Kiwi wasn't done showing off. As soon as Mom picked up Sammy, Kiwi proudly flapped his wings and said, "Good boy, good boy." It was as if he was congratulating himself and maybe expecting a treat. When the father came in, the mother explained what she had seen, and they immediately checked the security footage to confirm it. And what they watched left them speechless. The moment the video reached the part where Kiwi pushed the bottle back onto the table and climbed on top of it, the father paused the screen and simply stared at it. He whispered, "No one is going to believe this." He was right. When they later showed the video to family and friends, everyone reacted the same way. Disbelief, shock, and admiration for the intelligent little parrot who had protected a baby without hesitation. The parents decided to upload the video privately to share with relatives, but eventually, someone convinced them to post it online, saying people had to see this incredible moment. Within days, it went viral. People all over the world commented on Kiwi's instinct, bravery, intelligence, and protectiveness. Some shared stories about their own pets doing unexpected things. Others said they never knew parrots could think like that. And many simply fell in love with Kiwi's personality. But the most meaningful part of the story wasn't the viral fame. It was how Kiwi behaved after that day. He became even closer to Sammy, following him around the house, watching him carefully, mimicking his laughter, entertaining him when he cried, and alerting the parents whenever Sammy wandered somewhere he shouldn't. Kiwi wasn't just a pet. He became a guardian. And as Sammy grew older, he formed a bond with Kiwi that was unlike anything his parents had ever seen. A baby and a parrot. Two unlikely best friends, all thanks to one unbelievable moment caught by a camera. A moment that proved sometimes the smallest creatures can have the biggest hearts. A moment no one would ever believe if the camera hadn't been recording. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment telling us what amazing thing your pet has done. Your engagement helps us bring more incredible real-life stories to you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.